Hello, welcome back to Bjorn Does Movies. I am Bjorn and I do movies. Welcome. We're continuing the Suicide Squad thing where I write a sequel to The Suicide Squad or Suicide Squad 2. I'm calling this one The Suicide Squad Point of No Return. If you have not seen parts 1 or 2, I would recommend at least watching part 2 because part 1 is just like an introduction of what characters I'm using and why, and part 2 is like the first chunk of the scripts. I really would recommend watching that. So just like put a benchmark in this one and then go back and watch that later. My dog is licking his ass. That's the sort of quality content you can come to expect from this channel. So, picking up where we left off, I'm just going to jump right into it. Harley Quinn and her team, which I believe I'm calling Team 1, I can't remember if they're Team 1 or Team 2, it doesn't matter. Harley Quinn and her team, led by Clock King, have just defeated Druid, the man who can control plants and animals. Quite easily, actually. And now they walk off. Jog is going to walk up to Harley Quinn for our introductory thing, and he's going to ask, how many teammates usually bite it? Harley Quinn is going to say, I don't know, half. Jog is going to be alarmed by this, obviously, and Harley will say that sometimes it's more. Harley Quinn, as in Harley Quinn, not Harley Quinn, is going to say, but you've survived every time. Harley's going to say, I guess I'm just lucky. And Harley Quinn's going to say, sure, luck. Harley's going to point out that she's picking up bad vibes from the other Harley Quinn, and she's going to ask if she did something to her. To which the older Harley Quinn will reply, did you do something to me? You ruined my life. Harley will ask what she did, and that she usually remembers, ruining people's lives. To which Harley Quinn will reply that you stole my name. I was Harley Quinn before you were even born. Now everyone hears my name and calls me a ripoff. Harley Quinn's going to go, oh my god, your name's Harley Quinn too? That's so weird. Parents, am I right? Harley Quinn will ask, what does that mean? To which Harley Quinn will explain that her name is quite literally Harley Quinn. She was born with her name. But Harley Quinn and Jog are going to be really confused by that. They're going to say, Jog's going to say, that's shit luck. Is that why you dress as a clown? To which Harley will reply, nope, that's a coincidence. Which I think is really funny because it is, for all intents and purposes, a coincidence that Harley Quinn dresses like a clown. Harley is going to propose that they should totally team up because two Harley Quinns are better than one, to which Harley Quinn, the older one, will begrudgingly agree. So now we're going to cut to Team 1. Okay, I guess this is Team 1. We're going to cut to Team 1 in the dark dripping sewers of Comforton, where we left them. They were fleeing after having killed successfully Phobia. And now they are following a 20-year-old girl who has led them into the sewers safely. The girl's going to say, those costumes, are you guys superheroes? To which Acid will say no. Flatline will disagree with him and say that they are, and that the girl should ignore him, and then say that they're here to take out the cult, but they need to find a way to get to the mall, which is where the leader of the cult, Crazy Quilt, is, and that's where their current objective is to get there. The girl will say, I can do that. Well, not me, my dad. He used to work down here. The sewers run through the whole town. If a pipe runs by the mall, he'll know. Acid's going to say that's great and ask to be brought to him, and the girl will agree and mention that they have a camp set up down here. As they go, we hear Sportsmaster grumbling about getting 10 years off his sentence, but they don't mention the shit in the sewers. He'll ask why the cult couldn't have taken over Vegas. Metallo will point out that he complains a lot, and Sportsmaster will snap back saying that he rusts if we're let outside, to which Metallo will reply that he's made of titanium alloy so that he doesn't actually rust. Sportsmaster will not be amused by this. Lastly, we'll see Beard Hunter whispering to himself. He'll be whispering awkwardly, just one more beard. Just one more beard, that's all I ask. Just one more and I can die a happy man. Sportsmaster will ask if he's okay, and Beard Hunter will say that he will be, he just needs a beard. I think we can all see where this is kind of going. The girl leads them to a cross-section in the sewers, and we see a large tent set up, sort of like a refugee camp set up down inside the sewers of people who escaped the cult when they first invaded and are now hiding out in the sewers to evade capture. The girl goes to get her father, and we see Flatline and Dorothy have some nice conversation. Her pet teddy bear imaginary friend will mention that they used to use the sewers to sneak up on Charlie, and Dorothy will point out that he's only 2 years old, so that's not possible. The refugee girl will return with her father in tow. A group of survivors follow behind them, and we can see that her father has a beard. We all know where this is going. Before the girl can even finish introducing him, Beard Hunter is going to knock him to the ground and begin to rip his beard off with a knife. We can hear her father scream in pain, And after only a few seconds, Beard Hunter thrusts the severed beard. He yells, 20 seconds, a new record, which is of course a reference to him mentioning that his current record is 23 seconds and he wants to get that up. The girl will holler for her dad. Acid's going to say fuck. The crowd's going to begin to mob and start pulling weapons out, and all chaos is going to break loose. So we're getting the Suicide Squad versus a bunch of refugees. This is not a callback to the original The Suicide Squad. This is just a reference that they both fight refugees in both those movies. Dorothy's going to beg for them to stop fighting. As the chaos takes over, we're going to see the squad killing men. Beard Hunter is going to take a knife wound to the shoulder. Several survivors are killed by the squad in various ways. Just sort of imagine the fight however you want with all these zany powers. Dorothy will yell again, "Stop it!" but her voice is too quiet to get over the crowd. Finally, she yells it one more time, very loud this time, and imaginary friends burst from her arms and from her chest. All these different types of imaginary friends, like you can imagine like animated tentacles and strange creatures and whatever weird sort of like clock. I know there's a few clock-based imaginary friends in the comic book. Just imagine whichever ones you want, just sort of coming out of her. I figured if this was a real movie, I'd leave this up to the VFX team to just kind of go crazy, let them have some freedom for once. But then finally, as the imaginary friends separate all the crowd, an ominous thumping begins to come down through the sewers. We hear it thump, 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 the sound of claws scraping metal. And Dorothy turns in horror and says, "Candlemaker." So we're finally going to get to meet good old Candlemaker, of course a classic of the Dorothy Spinner character. We'll see his claw grip the side of the sewer tunnel, leaving claw marks as he goes. His body will still be like cloaked in shadows, but we can see his hand dripping with hot candle wax. The Candlemaker is going to yell, "Dorothy," like a big bassy voice as he kind of climbs out. Eventually we'll get to see him in his entirety. He's going to look basically almost exactly like his comic book counterpart. I love the design, so I'm not going to really change anything about it. I think it's pretty close to perfect. He's going to say, "I see you, Dorothy. What did you tell them?" And Beard Hunter's going to laugh with joy. This is the first time Beard Hunter is going to notice that Candlemaker does, in fact, have a beard. In a lot of his designs, he has this sort of waxy beard design thing, like dripping beard thing. I'm just going to go the extra mile and say it's a beard. If it's not a beard, then we can make it a beard. I will change his design slightly. Beard Hunter is going to begin to run right towards Candlemaker, and Dorothy will yell, "Don't, he'll kill you!" But it's too late. Beard Hunter ignores her and continues. He says, "A wax beard, a true trophy." As soon as he gets within range of Candlemaker, Candlemaker is going to swipe at him with one of his claws and slice Beard Hunter into two clean pieces as his guts spray across the wall. We're going really graphic, and we are killing the Beard Hunter. Sorry to all you Beard Hunter fans out there. I saw a couple of you in the comments who were fans of him. I planned to kill him from the beginning, so that's rough. Sorry, folks. Dorothy's going to yell, "Run!" And the squad is going to follow her, running through the sewers as we see Candlemaker growing close behind them. Sportsmaster's going to ask, "What the fuck is that?" as they run. And Dorothy will explain that it's Candlemaker and that she made him. Sportsmaster will tell her to unmake him or we're fucked. Dorothy will tell him that that's not how it works. I don't control him. When he breaks free, he won't stop until he's satisfied. We see him catch one of the survivors. Candlemaker picks her up by the head and like one of his giant claws, and we'll see that he like oozes bubbling wax onto her. She's gonna kick and scream until she dies. Kind of imagine like Viserys in Game of Thrones when he gets a golden crown for a golden king. So you know, Candlemaker's gonna throw her corpse to the side. Sportsmaster's gonna say, "Fuck that." Acid's gonna say, "Metallo, that laser you used earlier, can it cut stone?" Metallo's gonna say, "I suppose it could." And Acid's gonna tell him to bring down the tunnel on top of Candlemaker. Flatline's gonna say that it could work or it could crush them all. Sportsmaster will reply that he doesn't see much of a choice. Sportsmaster's going to take out his javelin and throw it right at Candlemaker. It sticks through his chest and just kind of gets stopped by the wax. Candlemaker's going to pull it out and toss it aside as the hole fills almost immediately with wax. Sportsmaster's going to say, "Damn, that was my favorite javelin." Acid's going to yell, "Metallo, now!" Metallo's going to thrust his hand out and shoot a laser from it, destroying the roof and bringing rubble down, blocking the sewer tunnel. Metallo will remark that now that he can cut stone, if only he could cut steel, then Superman would be his. Sportsmaster will tell him that he needs a better hobby. Acid's going to tell them that they have to move, and Dorothy will tell them that he's still there and that she can feel him. So they continue out to the sewer, and we're going to cut back to Team 2. And they will be inside of an abandoned movie theater. Assume it's the Comfort movie theater. We're going to see Harley Quinn and Blockbuster are stealing candy bars from the concession stand, and Clock King watches the door and taps his foot. Clock King will say, "She's late. Why is everybody late?" Harley Quinn is going to say, "I already told you, Frosty's not coming." Clock King's going to try to call in Waller. He's going to say, "Waller, can you read me?" And then he'll say, "She's not picking up." Harley Quinn is going to say, "Something's wrong. She usually picks up." And the other Harley Quinn will say, "I have to agree with the clown. I think we should just wait for orders somewhere else." Blockbuster will, of course, say, "Blockbuster," as he usually does. And Jog will ask her to translate that. Harley Quinn will say that she doesn't actually understand him, that she just kind of guesses, and that she's thinking he wants popcorn, which she says will take about 10 minutes to make. Clock King is going to look at his watch and say, "No more waiting. We're already too far behind. We're going after Decker," who is Crazy Quilt, for those who don't remember. Tin-Eye Man will say, "Aren't we supposed to wait for Team 2? We'll see him move his hands around like this, as he always does, looking for support from the others. Clock King will say, "For all we know, they're dead. If they aren't, they'll meet us at the mall. We stick to the plan." And then we're going to cut to the villains, who we have not seen in quite a while. We are going to follow a cult leader, a cult follower, like one of the cult members with the flashing mask, you know, the gimmick here. And he will say, "Sir, we found Phobia. She's dead. It's the same with Druid. The metahumans killed them and vanished. We don't know where they are." Crazy Quilt will say, "I want to know who they are." And then we'll hear Killer Frost from behind him. They're called the Suicide Squad. Crazy Quilt will turn and stare as Killer Frost appears for the first time. Crazy Quilt will ask, "Who are they?" Killer Frost will say, "Criminals with bombs in their head, first to serve Amanda Waller, and by proxy the United States." And Crazy Quilt will ask her how she knows this. Killer Frost will turn around and lift her hair, revealing the scar where her bomb is. Killer Frost will say, "I used to be a member. I wanted out, so I came to you." Crazy Quilt nods his head. Crazy Quilt will say, "Did you know? My father was a metahuman too. He could see the future, but only through arts. So he did what he was best at and made a quilt. I know it's silly, but what he weaved came true." And Killer Frost will ask what he predicted. And Crazy Quilt will say, "I never did show you. Come with me." He leads her into a room with a quilt hanging on the wall. And I'll say, like, we see tons of cult members, like, on their knees worshiping it like it's some kind of god. And we'll see it shows all sorts of strange things, but most importantly, at its center, it shows Crazy Quilt standing in front of a portal as all men bow down to him. Crazy Quilt will then say, "My father showed me the way. These drawings here are mathematical equations for a device that opens a door." Killer Frost will ask, "To what?" And Crazy Quilt will say, "You'll see soon enough. All that matters is the prophecy. My father saw me becoming a king, and all the people of the world bowing to me. And today is the day it happens. The device is nearly complete, and my reign is about to begin." Killer Frost will say, "It's incredible." And Crazy Quilt will tell her that, "You are on the ground floor of my empire. This Suicide Squad of yours is coming to kill me. Can you stop them and make the prophecy come to pass?" We see Killer Frost think about it. "I always pick the winning side. That way I never lose. How can I argue with prophecy?" Crazy Quilt will say, "Good. Stop this Suicide Squad, and I'll give you anything you can imagine." Killer Frost says, "I like the sound of that." So boom, we've got our Killer Frost betrayal, as promised. We're going to cut back to the sewers. We're going to see Acid as Dorothy, the little girl, walks up to him. She'll say, "I can't feel him anymore. I think he's gone." Acid will say, "Good. Try to avoid letting him out again." Dorothy will say, "I'll try." She notices the ring on his finger. She'll say, "You're married?" Acid will say yes, and she'll ask, "How'd you meet your wife?" Sort of like a curious kid would. Acid looks melancholy, then smiles, and he says, "At a bar." And we're going to get a flashback to Acid's backstory, or at least parts of it. We're going to hear the song "Out of My League" by Fitz and the Walker. This is a double entendre song, and I'll explain that later. But it sets the tone nicely. So we'll see young Acid, and he's going to be at a bar, and he's going to approach a beautiful girl, and she'll talk to him. We'll see her laughing. We'll see them doing, and we'll do sort of like a montage of them like dating and getting married really quickly as he gives his story. He's going to talk about how hard he fell for her and how she fell for him, and that he proposed to her, and then they had a daughter, and that she looked a lot like Dorothy, he'll mention, and that he was happy for once in his life. And we'll cut back to them in the sewer, and Dorothy will ask, what happened next? And Acid will tell her that he got brave and forgot he was out of his league, and that they died for it, and that he won't forget again. He pulls up his hair, and we can see the letters that were carved into his forehead in his other backstory we got earlier. And we'll see that they are CK. Sportsmaster's going to notice and say, holy shit, you're a Condiment King. I don't know how I didn't recognize you before. And that is my first big reveal of this story. Acid is not an original character. He is, in fact, Condiment King, the classic goofy villain who squirts mustard and ketchup and relish at Batman. Now, I was when I went down to write this story, my goal with this Suicide Squad movie, when I was like writing it for fun, was to make Condiment King a badass, and it was fucking hard. There is nothing cool about Condiment King, so I had to change a great deal about him, actually. But I think I kept the core here. His acid launchers I described as being like a pressure gun is actually the same thing Condiment King uses to shoot his condiments. And his name, which I changed to Mitchell Mayer from Mitchell Mayo, is the same, basically. So I gave that name in the first part. So he's actually Condiment King. He decided to try to play with the big boys and got in big trouble for it. And when all was said and done, he gave up his dorky aesthetic and decided to use his equipment for something more metal, and took his revenge on the men who killed his wife and daughter, landed himself in Belle Reve. And the reason why he was so surprised that Amanda Waller would take him on this mission was because he used to be Condiment King. Flatline will say, Condiment King, like the guy who shot mustard at Batman? Acid will correct her and say that it was actually ketchup, and that he's not Condiment King anymore. The Condiment King is dead. Sportsmaster will say, Jesus Christ, what the fuck happened to you? You're like a badass now. And Acid will say that he realized he was a joke and did something about it. A Flatline will ask him why ketchup, to which Acid will explain that his father used to own a bottling company that bottled condiments. He grew up with them, so when he decided he wanted to be a villain, he went with what he knew. And he says that he doesn't deserve pity. Metallo will then tell him that he's been there, and that when he lost to Superman the second time, he got back up and reinforced his body with titanium, and that next time he faces Superman, he'll win for sure. And then he tells Acid he just needs titanium for his heart. Flatline tells him that he needs to read the room, because that's clearly not the right thing to say. As they're talking, they come to a manhole. Sportsmaster climbs up and peers out of the slit, and he sees that they are now in front of the mall. They just happen to stumble into it, I don't know. Plot hole. Fuck me. Thank God it's the mall, he says. We can be done with this stupid fucking mission. And we're going to cut to Team 2, who is also in front of the mall on the opposite side of it, so they're not going to run into each other yet. Clock King's going to say, let's get this done fast. Harley Quinn, the older one, is going to say, what's the plan? Harley Quinn, this is getting really confusing, I'm sorry. They'll say, I say we go in there guns blazing and kill them all. 10-9 Man will say, I say we don't do that. Clock King's going to say, no guns. We're doing this tactically. He's going to ask Jog how fast he is. Jog's going to say, I'm fast, but I just can't see while I'm running. I'm best in bursts. Clock King will tell him, will ask him if he thinks he can get in and out without being seen, to which Jog will reply, probably. He'll tell Jog to find Decker and report back, and that he shouldn't kill him because he's a metahuman with a power they don't know. We're going to follow Jog in sort of like a quick zoom shot as he runs to the mall in quick bursts. He speeds into the main foyer and sees the device that Decker and Calculator are working on. It's like this big, it's like a big portal. It's like a big round mechanical device with lots of wires and loose bits hanging off it and a control panel, and it's making noise as it activates. He'll begin to run back, but as he goes, we'll pan up and see that Mono, the guy who dissolves things he touches, I mentioned him in part 1, is going to see him. He's going to talk into his earpiece and say, "They found you, Decker. Looks like they're set up out front." Killer Frost will turn to Crazy Quilt after hearing the message and say, "I'll handle these guys. There should be a second team. You should go and tell your man to search." And Crazy Quilt will ask how you plan to stop them. Killer Frost will say, "Remember, they think I'm one of them." Jog will return to Clock King and say that he's found him, that they're right in the middle of the mall, and that they're building something big. He says, I don't know what it is, but I don't think it's good. Clock King will say that there's no time to waste, and that Task Force X needs to go. We'll cut inside the mall where we see Team 1 is walking, exploring the mall. we'll see that Flatline is fiddling with her iPod, which we saw she had earlier, and Sportsmaster will notice. He'll ask what she's listening to, and she'll reply, Japanese city pop, the thing I mentioned in the last part that she's into, as a replacement for reading manga, which I thought was cringe. Sportsmaster will say, of course, what else would it be? I swear you guys are all weirdos. Flatline will say that he's a villain who is themed after sports, and Sportsmaster will say that touche. And that he asks why this place is such a big mall for such a small town. And Flatline will ask him if he read the packet. He'll say he didn't, and she'll call him an idiot. And then he'll say, I'm not 16, she'll reply, I'm 20. And Sportsmaster will say, could have fooled me, and then ask her why there's a mall. To which she'll explain that at one point, Comforton was going to be a big town, that a big amusement park, something like Disneyland, was going to be built there to cater to a nearby city. And that all the infrastructure from the plans are still here, even though the plans fell through, including a big mall, which is now largely empty with a few sporadic stores built into it. Sportsmaster will say, and a large sewer system. It makes sense. If this mall is so big, how are we going to find our man? I'm picturing something like akin to like the Mall of Americas almost, but not quite that dramatically large. It's a certifiably large enough place for a big final showdown. Metallo will then say, I can do it. Flatline will ask how. Metallo will tell her that he can scan for life forms within a 3-mile radius. Sportsmaster's going to ask him why the fuck he didn't mention that earlier, and Metallo will say he didn't ask. Sportsmaster's going to say we could have used that like 10 times, and Flatline will say, well, what else can you do? Metallo will say that he can fly short distances and that he can do this. He's going to turn his hand into a sword and then sort of turn it back. And then he'll mention that he can hack computer systems, sort of off-putly. Acid said, you said you can scan for life forms? And Metallo will answer, yes. Acid's going to say, scan them all. We can go right to the bastards. Metallo's going to scan it and then say, we're getting major interference, but I scanned one life form. And Acid will ask them to take us there. As they walk through the mall, we'll pull out and see a billboard above the mall with the name of the mall, which I think is probably like the Comforton Mall or something like that, or the Comforton Mall, whatever, you know, you get the idea, something else. And above it, we'll see like the graffiti spray painted on that says, the Suicide Squad in the Comforton Mall. This is going to be our diegetic title card for the next segment. We'll cut to Team 2 inside the mall. They enter, they're walking around looking for Crazy Quilts and heading right to where he is because they know because of Jog. And they come across Killer Frost. Clock King will tell her that she's late and that she'll say she got held up and that they know you're coming. Clock King will turn and stare at Jog and he said, hey, I said I probably wouldn't get seen. Clock King will say, we continue as planned. Frost, do you know what they're up to? Killer Frost will say, no idea. He keeps everyone in the dark. They continue through the mall and we see Blockbuster look to his left and get excited. Here in this old mall, we see a Blockbuster video store. He runs over to it excitedly and Harley Quinn follows him. What are you doing? She asks. As Harley starts to follow him, Harley Quinn, the older one, asks, what are you doing? Harley Quinn is going to say, I'm going to get the big guy back. Cover for me. The older Harley Quinn rolls her eyes and follows the others. Harley Quinn asks, what is it, Blocky? He points to the sign and goes, Blockbuster! He runs right through the window of the store, smashing the glass. Harley follows him through the unlocked door, and we follow him as the song Can't Take My Eyes Off You starts to play. We'll hear him laugh as he dances and runs around the store saying his name, Blockbuster, more and more excitedly. As the song hits its chorus, if you listen to it, you'll hear the part. We see him spinning around from above like a shot in a big romance movie or something. Really dramatic. And then we are going to cut to Team 1. We see the squad walking into the mall. Suddenly, we see Mono appear in front of them. He says, stop there. Flatline says, oh god, it's the disintegration guy. They're genuinely scared because, again, they have no idea how they're going to kill this guy. Dorothy asks what they're going to do, and Sportsmaster says, you guys go on. I want to take this one. Flatline says, you do? And he says, yeah. His voice reminds me of my dad. I always wanted to beat the shit out of my old man. Sportsmaster's going to pull one of his metal frisbees from his disc, the thing we saw earlier, and he'll tell them to go. He starts to run the other way, and Mono turns to follow them. The disc shatters into his glass helmet, then disintegrates on contact with his face. We kind of see his face through his half-shattered mask, something like that Darth Vader shot from Obi-Wan Kenobi or Star Wars Rebels, you know, with the half face, half normal face. He's going to stare, he's going to turn and look at Sportsmaster with one eye exposed. His glare is filled with hate and strange scars run across his exposed face. His backstory, which we're not ever going to really get into here, is that he's like a failed experiment, that went horribly wrong, and they basically tortured him to figure out how he works. Sportsmaster's gonna say, yeah, fucker, your fight's with me. Mono's gonna pull off his gloves and let them fall to the floor. He's gonna begin to walk forward towards Sportsmaster. Sportsmaster's gonna say, you don't talk much, do you? That's fine, I didn't come to talk. He throws another disc, but it disintegrates as soon as it hits his chest, cutting through the fabric on his like, I don't know what you call it, like a suit. Sportsmaster pulls out like his last javelin and expands it, like pops open. And he throws it at Mono, but again it disintegrates. Sportsmaster is now out of weapons. He's gonna say, oh hell. In the panic, he's gonna turn and look for someone to run. And he turns, and right behind him in the mall, we see a sporting goods store. Again, I had this finale set at a mall, and I had this character Sportsmaster, and I said, there's no way this guy doesn't end up in like a Dick's Sporting Goods. That's too fun of a set piece to not have. Sportsmaster's gonna laugh and say, now you're done. He's gonna break through the glass window with Mono close on his heels. He's gonna run through the store, grabbing all sorts of things and hurling at him. We'll see like I don't know, basketballs and fishing poles. He'll just throw literally anything he can find at him in the sporting goods store. Until he throws a plastic football and it bounces off Mono's face and does not disintegrate. Mono stops and looks at Sportsmaster. Sportsmaster thinks about it internally and realizes that Mono wears a suit made of plastic because he can't disintegrate plastic. Sportsmaster will say, I've got you now. We'll see him run. As Mono follows. As Mono follows him, he's going to reach out and disintegrate the shelves. Sportsmaster reaches a plastic wiffle ball bat and plastic balls. He uses them to hit Mono in the face with the balls, like he throws them and blocks them into him, but they're going to just bounce off harmlessly because it's, you know, a plastic wiffle ball. Until one of the balls hits a shard of glass hanging from Mono's helmet and forces it into his face. We're going to see it cuts him, draws blood. Sportsmaster quickly grabs a rubber lacrosse ball from the shelf and begins to run. He finds a lacrosse stick and grabs it from one of the shelves. Mono is getting closer though. Sportsmaster finally reaches his goal, the golfing section with the glass case. I don't know if you've ever been in a sports center, but they always have a golf ball section or like a section with like more expensive items that they'll have behind glass. Sportsmaster is going to shatter the glass and start sticking shards into the plastic lacrosse ball. Just as he finishes, it's a rubber lacrosse ball rather. Just as he finishes, Mono comes around the corner. Sportsmaster puts this new lacrosse ball filled with glass shards into his lacrosse stick and throws it straight into Mono's face. The shards of glass disappear into his face as the rubber ball vanishes. Mono screams in pain and recoils back. We see the shards of glass stuck all in his face. But he isn't dead. He begins to crawl towards Sportsmaster, and as he does, the floor dissolves around him, like he's crawling and like pits of the floor are vanishing. Sportsmaster's gonna say, you won't die. Sportsmaster grabs a big shard of glass and runs towards Mono. Mono tries to grab him, but Sportsmaster dodges. He sticks the shard of glass straight into Mono's skull, killing him. Sportsmaster yells with victory as Mono dies. And we're going to cut to Crazy Quilt in the mall. He's going to say, Calculator, is it ready? We're running out of time. Calculator says, yes, I think it is. He flips a couple of switches and the machine turns on and begins to flash. Calculator is reading out numbers on a thing and says, it's stable, you've done it. Crazy Quilt's going to say, we've done it. You have made history today. Calculator says, what data set should we use? It's going to say, Crazy Quilt will say, we're under attack, Calculator. Pull from the dangerous set. Are you sure? Some of those would be disastrous. We could end the world. Crazy Quilt says, we have the prophecy. We know the future. Do it. Calculator is going to say, as you command. He opens the box and pulls out one of the large files labeled dangerous. He begins to enter numbers into the machine. It makes a loud noise. After a moment, a portal opens in its center, just like a normal, like Rick and Morty portal, whatever you want to call it, just a standard portal. Opens in its center and then stabilizes. All of the cult followers bow down before it. Crazy Quilt stands in front of it, and we see him silhouetted against the portal. He begins a speech. This is only the beginning. We will take this power and conquer the country, and then the world. Everyone will bow before the quilt. We cut to Tin-Eyed Man using his powers to peer around the corner of the building. Watching this display happen. Clucken's gonna ask, what's he doing? Tin-Eyed Man's gonna say, he's just talking. They've opened some kind of portal. In the background, we're gonna see that Harley Quinn and Black Buster are still missing, and notice that Killer Frost is missing for the first time as well. We cut back to Crazy Quilt. As Crazy Quilt talks, the portal begins to waver, and we see Crazy Quilt thrust his hands up. The prophecy woven into the quilt at last reveals itself. Look and tremble as I rise to the throne of the world. The portal begins to ripple faster, and then Superman emerges, followed by the OG Superman theme, like the da 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 da, like really triumphant moment. We're gonna cut to Tin-Eyed Man. Still peering around the wall. He's gonna say, "We're saved! Superman is here!" We'll cut back to Crazy Quilt. "So you are my path to power, the man of steel. Bow before your king." Superman will say, "King," like a question. He floats up to Crazy Quilt, and we see him blow his frost breath all over Crazy Quilt. We hear Crazy Quilt try to scream, but then his head is frozen. Superman slams a fist through it, shattering it into bloody pieces, and we quickly realize this is not the Superman we know. Superman's going to say, "Some king. And Kansas, they raised them better." From the portal, the rest of the Justice League appears. We see the Flash zip out and stop next to Superman. Next, Wonder Woman and Green Lantern float out. Lastly, we see Captain Boomerang. A little bit of a wild shot, but I wanted to bring that character back, and this is the only way I could think to do it. They do like a dramatic team-up shot. I'll say the designs are slightly off. They don't even have to be played by the DCEU like Justice League actors. Since they're from another dimension, we could literally just cast an all-new Justice League just for this scene, and it would be kind of fun. Of course, this is a callback to the opening scene of my script, in which we saw a woman from an Injustice-like world where the Justice League is evil. Crazy Quilt entered the number from her case into this machine and inadvertently opened a portal to another universe, which contained an evil version of the Justice League who quickly came and killed him. As they do the team-up shot, Superman's going to say, "Kill them. Boomerang, you better impress me. Remember, your membership is at risk." Captain Boomerang going to say, "No need to tell me twice." We'll see him toss a boomerang. It's going to slice the head off of two of the cult members, who are now gearing up to fight the Justice League, to no avail. Wonder Woman launches out and slices a man in two. Superman cuts a couple people in half with his laser vision, and the Flash shoots forward and runs straight through a thug, blowing his guts all over the walls. And we'll see that those guts and gore just spell out the Suicide Squad versus the Justice League. We'll cut to Team 2 and see Acid and watching this all go down. He's going to say, "Oh, fuck." And that's where I'm going to end it for today, folks, on a little bit of a cliffhanger. Next time, we will see the Suicide Squad fight the Justice League and end the story. Yeah, this is the part I've really been excited to. I've actually built this whole movie around the Suicide Squad fighting the Justice League because I saw the trailer for that new Rocksteady game where they're playing the Suicide Squad game they're making, and they're fighting the Justice League in that. And the team is like King Shark, Captain Boomerang, Harley Quinn, and Deadshot. And I have no idea how that team is supposed to defeat the Justice League. There's also way too few of them. Like, none of them can actually die because we'll lose a character, right? I haven't played that game. I don't know. Maybe they'll add more tertiary members later. But I was like, I want to do my own version of how the Suicide Squad could beat the Justice League or lose to the Justice League. I actually don't know how this is going to end. And you don't either. So you'll have to wait till next time when I do this. I probably have one more video coming out before I do the next part of this. A review of the Wheel of Time TV show I've been working on for a long time. So the next part of this may or may not come out before then. If y'all really, really want it, let me know in the comments and I'll do it first. Remember to like and subscribe if you like this. This is a playlist. There's some other videos on my channel. This is the previous videos if you want a refresher after watching this. There they are. Yeah, thanks for watching, y'all, and let me know your thoughts below. Let me know anything else you might have wanted to do. All right, bye.